How's it going, guys? So I just got a package in the mail. Let's get to a manga haul. I was waiting for a couple books that I sent for by the end of March, and I figured instead of doing the haul, I would just wait for those two books to arrive. So now we could get into it. Go ahead and get started. I got a few series that are ending, which is kind of nice. That means that less books to pick up, right? Nice hardcover here. This is Leiji Matsumoto's Captain Harlock, the classic collection, third book in the series, final book. The ending was kind of left open-ended, and I think it probably could have benefited from a couple, at least two more chapters to close it off. But I get that some series just don't always have a conclusion. But nonetheless, it was a great series. One of those, what do they say in Japanese? Otoko da, you know, a guy. A guy has to be a guy, or I don't know. The only Viz title I picked up, that is Mobile Suit Gundam Thunderbolt, Volume 10, by Yasuo Takaki. What can I say? I'm kind of not enjoying the series anymore. It is very nicely illustrated, but the characters are just not as memorable as I would like them to be. This whole volume had this big outburst by what's his name, EO, and trying to show us how war has affected him. But I really didn't care. I really don't care for the character of EO. I don't know how long the series is gonna go. It is the only Universal Century title that we're getting, so should I keep getting it? Should I stop getting Gundam? It's a sad world where we can't read good Universal Century Gundam anymore. Another series that's ending, that is ACCA 13 by Natsume Ono, 6th volume. Does it say final volume here? I don't know. It says it somewhere. Great series. It is what they call a slow burn, but more than a slow burn, I would say it's a no burn at all. It's just a very mellow series. There's nothing extremely dramatic, and then when you get something dramatic, it kind of fizzles out very quickly, but you're not unsatisfied. You still enjoy these characters and what's going on. And there was a little twist at the end which I thought was pretty cool. I think it's something Natsume Ono would do, and I like how thick the volume is. It was a very nice chunky last volume, and it was still the same price as the other ACCA books. Same thing with this one. Very nice chunky final volume. That is Colosseum. Another volume 6 as well. Wow. By Yasushi Baba. I was not a fan of this cover. I think it kind of spoils the story a bit. If you haven't read the 5th volume, it's kind of a spoiler. And I believe these are the actual Japanese covers. Every volume had this as a first color page, and I believe it is the actual cover to the Japanese edition. But from what I'm reading, I'm a few chapters in. It's a lot of action, a lot of great stuff. I'm thinking it's gonna be a pretty good last volume from what I've read. I think I got one more series that's ending, but I move on to another Viz title. Did I say I only picked up one Viz title? I guess I picked another Viz title up, but that is an old school graphic novel from Viz, Pixie Junket by Pure. And I had almost forgotten about this one, but I believe I saw Jen from Shelf Space Fleeting talking about it for TBR, or maybe a shelf tour. She mentioned this book for some reason, and I came across it at a local comic shop, and I decided to pick it up. Pretty much as it says down here, something worked in the tradition of Masamune Shiro, which I can see from the character design. It's kind of like a fanzine of someone trying to imitate Shiro's style, but I'll see how it turns out. It does say it's kind of like Tagami's Gray and Hayao Miyazaki's Nausicaa of the Valley of the Winds. So pretty interesting mix. Looking forward to it. And I don't think Pure has done anything similar to that from what I looked for online. That was like kind of a one-off for him. I move on. The Delinquent Housewife, Volume 4 by Nemu Yoko. Final volume. Another series I'm not completely done with, but it is interesting what they're doing with this slice of life. I don't know how it's gonna end. It's kind of been in a whole awkward position from the last volume to this volume, but I'm enjoying it a lot. If you like your slice of life a little quirky, that's a pretty good one. More slice of life. That is After the Rain, Volume 3 by Jun Mayuzuki. This is another fun one. I would say I kind of prefer the quirkiness of the Delinquent Housewife, but this one is it's pretty fun too. I guess it's just a bit more serious. Fun nonetheless. So I move on to a couple of orders I put into the book depository. And this series I was eyeing it for quite a bit. I wasn't sure if I was going to pick it up. 7 volumes long, and it is Katsuhiro Otomo, so I figured why not. Decided to pick up the first 2 volumes of The Legend of Mother Sarah, or La Leyenda de Madre Sara. It is by Katsuhiro Otomo, but he leaves the art to Takumi Nagayasu. This is by Norma Editorial, which is a pretty decent publisher, I think. I don't have a lot of their stuff. I figured if I'm going to jump on this, I might as well check it out. And I have to say, these first 2 volumes were great. The art by Nagayasu is pretty much awesome. It is great stuff. And the story by Otomo is pretty interesting. Each volume is kind of a standalone, but this first volume, of course, starts off with this kind of winded introduction, and we cut to a space station, and we're kind of told this story about how we had to leave Earth. 2 factions are formed. One wants to save it by throwing a bomb at it, and the other one doesn't want that anymore. So these 2 factions warring it out, and then we get this massive exodus. The mechanical design on the series is quite surprising. I really enjoyed it. This guy is singled out with his wife and family. They take him away. Then all of a sudden someone rats out the lady as well, and then they try to take her away. Something happens, explosions and bombs, and after that we cut to Earth, and of course that woman with her kids is actually Sarah here. But since she was separated, we cut to her back on Earth, and she's looking for her children, which is technically why it's called The Legend of Mother Sarah, because she's looking for her children. I would say if you could find the Dark Horse edition of this first volume, or at least the single issues, check them out. Both volumes are self-contained. We're following Sarah, looking for her children. She arrives at a town. She's joins this old guy that's driving her around, and he's like a salesman. It was such a interesting story of how you just see her trying to find her children and getting involved with all of these other people. By volume 2, we get some backstory of how or what happened right after she landed on the planet from the space station, and she goes through some terrible hardships. It's pretty graphic stuff, very sad. If you've read Akira, the character of Sarah kind of reminds me of that really buff lady that is, what is she doing? Is she running around with Kaneda trying to find Tetsuo, or that old lady? That's kind of like what Sarah is, sort of. Anyways, I'll stop rambling and move on to the next one. This is a single volume. It is actually by Ponon Mont. It is El Pájaro Azul by Takashi Murakami. And if you've ever looked for anything by Murakami, it's kind of hard to find him because I believe there's a different artist that has the same name. But Murakami, this is the same mangaka that did Hoshimamoru Ino, or as it was translated in English, The Stargazing Dog. This is a slice of life drama with two stories that somehow he tied together very interestingly. The first one is, of course, El Pájaro Azul, and the other one is Wakuraba, which is translated as El Azar, and I believe it has like two meanings you could attribute to the word, but it's pretty much a coincidental occurrence. The first story deals with this family of three. They suffer an accident, so the woman has to cope with the loss of her son, as well as having to take care of her husband, which ends up in a coma. Very sad story. It goes through different levels of grief very realistically. I would say the art isn't as realistically as I would have liked it, but it was interesting. And the second story is actually about a man who works at a metal foundry. Is that what you call them? Or a melting shop? I don't know. Anyway, something happens to this man, and we see him go through several time skips. I think maybe just one, but we see him as an older man, and it's basically him going into Alzheimer's and dementia, and of course his wife gets the front of the whole thing. And the way Murakami ties the two stories is I think the most amazing part. I don't want to ruin it, but it was pretty great. Other than saying that, I don't know how I could explain how the two tie in. He was asked to do a story about family. It actually happened during the I believe it was the tsunami or the earthquake in 2011, I think. So that greatly affected his writing, and of course turned it into a more somber story, dealing with grief, dealing with loss. And the last two that I was waiting for, one of them was Kids on the Slope, bonus track by Yuki Kodama. And this is just extra stories on the series. Some take place in between, I believe. I think it's just 5 stories. And some of them deal with secondary characters. Here's a great shot of the whole cast. And if I said that the series ended similar to the anime, I would have to say I was wrong, because they do so much more with the story after Nishimi moves to Tokyo to study. There's just so much more development of the characters and the story as they're older. It's kind of sad that the anime had to rush the ending. It is pretty much the same. It ends in a similar way, but I mean the character development that went on in the final chapters of Kids on the Slope was much more interesting in the manga. In manga or anime form, it is a very nice story. Last volume, a volume I've been highly anticipating. I think it's been out for a year, but I just haven't got around to picking it up. So excited to have it. That is Bestiarius Volume 6 by Masasumi Kakizaki. We finally get the last arc beginning, I believe. This starts off our final arc. We've had so many hardships in the series. So many characters have come and gone, and it is all around a very nice shonen, and Kakizaki just does some amazing art. And to this point, From what I've read of Kakisaki, this is probably in the top for me. Yeah, I mean, even though the other series he does are seinen, for Bestiarius being a shonen, it's still top notch action, adventure, fantasy. Very, very great series. There you go. That's my haul. March, February, March. That is what I picked up. Um, let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are on any of these series. What do you think of Colosseum ending? What do you think of Bestiarius if you're reading it somehow? Right? Somehow? Or if you picked up The Legend of Mother Sarah by Dark Horse before. Did you enjoy it as much as me? Because I thought the art was top notch, the story was very interesting, and I highly give it praise for being a great post-apocalyptic sci-fi. Is it better than Akira? I don't want to say yes, but thank you very much for watching, and I guess we'll see you in another 2 months or something. Who knows when I'll get to another video, right? Again, thanks for watching.